being medevac to Walter Reed Army Hospital for another 3 months. So it's a real pleasure to be here today with all of you, no matter what service you gave to our country, no matter what branch, it makes no difference. Peacetime, wartime, makes no difference. You served, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here today and an honor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I'm going to call on Rear Admiral Jim Dobler, because he's a member of Island X-8, and we call him Jim, to please come up.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real thrill to be here back in my hometown for this wonderful Veterans Day observance, and particularly for the dedication of this just marvelous addition to the Seabee monument here. I remember distinctly being here in June of 1996 when the original thing was dedicated, and I introduced Dave Nash. It seems to me that day was a bit more pleasant than this day. And I couldn't help but remember recently in one of the Island X8 newsletters, one of the local poets, I guess, wrote a little poem about his hometown, and this is just one phrase from it. It says, "Yes, the weather here is wonderful, so I guess I'll hang around. I could never leave my buffalo because I'm frozen to the ground." So the Seabees not only build and fight, but they write, okay? It's really an honor to introduce our guest speaker for today. I had the privilege of meeting him for the first time when he was a lieutenant. But he graduated from the Naval Academy in 1969, received a master's degree at the University of Colorado, and is also a distinguished graduate of the U.S. Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. As I say, when I met him, he was a young lieutenant. He was an aide to an admiral who was then in the position that he's in today, and that admiral was named John Paul Jones. Now, there's a real Navy name for you. Dobler and Shear don't quite match up to the name of John Paul Jones, but that's what you get. After he was subsequent to being a lieutenant, he was assigned in 1989 to be the resident officer in charge of construction for the Puerto Rico area. And it was there that when I was the commander of the Atlantic Division, NAVFAC, that Greg was one of my stellar young officers. And I really remember writing on his fitness report all the superb things he was doing in his job. And I said, if Admiral Shear stays in the Navy, he has the potential to become a flag officer. So congratulations, Greg, you did it. And you even went farther. Greg was also the commander of Naval Mobile Construction Battalion 1 in 1996 to 98. And during that time, NMCB 1 was the Atlantic Fleet Best of Type Seabee battalions, and won the Peltier Award for 1997. So that's a real honor, as we know, for the Seabees. Greg later served as a commander, 30th Naval Construction Regiment, and vice commander, 3rd Naval Construction Brigade. And in 2006, he became the commander of Naval Facilities Engineering Command. So it's my distinct privilege and great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, my good friend, Rear Admiral Greg Shear.
Thank you, sir. When Admiral Dobler called the off, I think it was probably 16 or 17 months ago, and he said, need you to come up to North Tonawanda next year. And knowing about that fit rep you wrote on me several years before, I said I must go back. I can't let my boss down. So I am so glad to be here. You know, we do a Veterans Day ceremony at the Seabee Memorial there in Washington, D.C. And it's funny, you think in that big town with all those Seabees and officers and senior folks, we probably have 1/10 the number of people that come to that ceremony is here today. This is quite a testament to this town, to this community, to all of you veterans. It is really an honor to be among you to share in this special time. Distinguished guests, families, Seabees, thank you so much for coming today. On behalf of the United States Navy and the Civil Engineer Corps and Naval Facilities Engineering Command, it is with a huge, heartfelt thank you that I offer you, just my gratitude for the vision that culminated in this park and this statue, paying a tribute to Seabees past, present, and future. Let me also take this opportunity to take and express our nation's deep appreciation of the veterans here today. I've met many of you already. To those who reside here in Tonawanda and all the great state of New York, and to the veterans everywhere in the world. For those of you that have worn the uniform of the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and thank you, as many others have done already, for your service and your sacrifice for this country. On this day, we also pay tribute to those that are still in uniform. There's over 2 million still in uniform in the active and reserve force serving around the world. We wish them well. We pray for their safe return home if they're overseas. And you think about it, that seems like a big number, over 2 million, but that is less than 1% of the country that has stepped forward to wear the cloth of the nation and go and defend when ordered wherever. And we pay tribute and thank them for that service today. 90 years ago today was Armistice Day, and that's the day that Veterans Day grew out of. It was the end of the war to end all wars, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. And up until that time, no other conflict in human history ever experienced the kind of brutality and mass-produced warfare and casualties as we saw in World War I. Seabees didn't take any part in World War I, of course. They weren't around yet, but the war had a big impact on one young naval officer named Ben Moreell. He was a naval engineer who had joined the Navy in 1917. And Moreell, whose job as the Chief of Civil Engineers I'm privileged to hold now, was a visionary who even then saw the importance of wartime construction and had the idea of an organization made up of sailors who could build and fight. And he had this idea well before the 7th of December. So on the 28th of December, 1941, just 21 days after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Ben Moreell, who was now the Chief of Civil Engineers, submitted an idea to the Chief of the Bureau of Navigation, which was Rear Admiral Chester Nimitz at the time. And now it's called the Naval Personnel. And Admiral Nimitz reviewed his submittal to form a Naval Construction Regiment, and on the 5th of January 1942, Admiral Moreell got the authority to form that group. And they started training. We've heard Camp Perry. Another place they trained was at Consett Point. On the back of your program, you see a little history about that time. There was a draftsman named Frank Inafrate who was asked by a CEC lieutenant to come up with an insignia and a catchy name for the new force to help in recruiting. His first try was based on a beaver, and how our history might have been different. It had been a beaver, but fortunately the next day he hit upon the idea of a Seabee, or a bee, prefaced by construction. So Seabee, and the name Seabee and the insignia and the little design was blessed by the Secretary of the Navy on the 5th of March 1942, and that is our birthday. And to the Seabee veterans here today and around the world, you represent the culmination of Admiral Moreell's vision way back just after World War I. And you're the original Seabees, those of you that have served, that our young sailors hear stories about, and it's your exploits that they're emulating around the globe today. So today we honor another vision here standing in front of me, and this wonderful monument we're dedicating today embodies the can-do determination of many people. Commander Trautman, the members of the Navy Seabees Veterans of America Island X-8, the artistic talents of Brian Porter, and thank you, sir, and the generosity of Dorothy Darlock Memorial Fund. And this monument will stand as a legacy not only of the Seabees, but of those here who have been willing to invest their time and energy in something greater than themselves. And you have my everlasting gratitude. That is a fine, fine monument. This is an exciting time to be a Seabee. For those of you that still are in uniform and serving, you know that as well as I do. At no other time, really since Vietnam, certainly not in my career, have Seabees been as active as they are now around the globe. The Navy today is engaged in carrying out a new maritime strategy, and our Seabees play a key role in that strategy, not only supporting the Marines and Special Forces and the Army in combat, but also being a key component of our nation's soft power, something we call another term for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, bringing hope and opportunity to the far corners of the world, not just in Southwest Asia, but in Africa and the far Western Pacific and South America, all over the world. Over 2,500 Seabees are deployed as we stand here today around the world, building on the legacy that you have built upon and building more and writing more chapters in the history that you helped to write. Just today as we stand here, 1,800 Seabees are in Southwest Asia, deployed supporting the war on terror. And I want to tell you just one story about one of those Seabees. We had a Seabee ball last year in Washington, D.C., and we gave a petty officer named Hickson. He was a BU-3 reservist out of the state of Florida. He was called up with NMCB 14. And in 2004, he suffered a horrible injury in Ramadi from a mortar attack. And he lost the use of his arms and his legs. And we gave him an award 3 years later, or 4 years later at the Seabee Ball for courage. We gave him the award that Robert Steedham, we recognize Robert Steedham and his heroism from one of the first casualties of the war on terror. Petty Officer Hickson was in a wheelchair, and he came and addressed the crowd. He told about his experiences after he got his injury. He goes around hospitals in his hometown in Florida to help others in a similar situation as him, and he's cheerful and upbeat, and he raises everybody's spirits, and he's unbelievably, just an unbelievable man. After the ceremony was over, I talked to him, and he said, you know, I don't have any regrets, or maybe just one regret, he said, and this is hard to even repeat this. He said, my only regret is I could not finish my deployment with my unit. I was injured early in the deployment. I was working in convoy security, and I wanted to finish that mission with my fellow Seabees. And he was perfectly frank, perfectly straightforward with that, looking me right in the eye and said, that's my only regret. And there he sat without the use of his arms and his legs. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, right now, that's the kind of person that we have serving in the Seabees today. They're bringing hope to those less fortunate, showing the world the best of what the United States has and our ideal of freedom. And with their unique skills and abilities, Seabees can go anywhere, accomplish any task, and rise to meet any challenge thrown at them. And through it all, their motto, with compassion for others, we build and we fight for peace with freedom, rings out and rings true. So let me assure you that the spirit of the Seabees that has captured so well in this memorial is alive and as vibrant in our young people today as ever has been in the history of the Seabees. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless the United States. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Evan. That's the story of the Seabees. Sorry, things got lost here for a moment. Now, I'm going to have Past Commander George Trautman, please come up. And he's going to Rear Admiral Shear. Yes, Admiral Shear, would you please come back again?
This is a token. We're having a second unveiling today.
Oh, my
Says
God.
here,
This is what,
Rear Admiral W. Greg Shear, CEC, he was on the occasion of the unveiling and dedication of Seabee statue 1108, North Tonawanda. We can ship it. Thank you so much.
Past Commander George just had a second unveiling here
That is awesome. Look at that. That's great. Thank you very much.
as a CB. Well, as you look up at that statue, that could have been your father, could have been your grandfather, uncle, neighbor, brother, but that is what it stands for, all of them. And now, for the closing ceremonies, we're going to call on Arthur Lee to please come up.
Where's the? Where's the check?
On here.
Before I start, I want to thank the colors. I'll read the names, you can call them. Before we start here, I'd like to thank the color guard, and especially First Sergeant Timothy Etheridge for all his help, the U.S. Marine Corps for all his help in getting them here. Thank you.
Okay? Okay, Ken?
Yes.
Okay. The two-bell ceremony is in recognition of those who have been deceased, and we would ask that God would bless the remembrances of these Seabees. Art will read the names.
Hoyt Bronson, Pad, 3N4, 04708, May 08. Leo Bukowski, 103rd NCB, 23 February 06. Dwayne Burgeon, CBMU 514, 23rd July 03. Raymond Carlson, Lieutenant CEC, 10th December 04. J. Smokey D. Chetman, 69th NCB, 30th August 03.
You can shed the tears that they are gone, or you can smile because they lived.
Roger Clancy, NCDU UDT 5, 27 June 06. Norman E. Clark, MCB 4, 03 December 03. Roy E. Combs, Jr., 26 NCB 03. Joseph P. Demeter, 12 79th NCB 2707. George C. Dissinger, 138 NCB 10 August 07.
Your heart can be empty because you cannot see them, or you can be full of the love that you shared.
Henry Fergara, the 99th NCB, 30th, October 1999. Robert T. Fritzie, 301 NCB, 3rd June 07. John Jack V. Gates, 36 NCB, CBU, 630, 12 August 03. James A. Harbison, NCB1, 03, December 03.
Or you can open your eyes and see all that they have left. Your heart can be empty because you cannot see them.
William A. Horn, Public Works, 26 August 03. Harry Hunt, 73rd NCB, 17th September 03. Ralph Huntley, 59th NCB, 04 October 04. Curtis Kallenbach, NCB 133, 5th September 06.
Or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember them and only that they are gone.
Jesse D. Kelly, MCB 5, 7th June 03. George M. LaForce, CBMU 610, 25th November 05. Frank Matazewski, CBMU 545, 30 June 08. Jerome R. Martinton, 104th, 96th, 83rd NCB 08, July 5th.
You can remember them and only that they are gone, or you can cherish their memory and let it live on.
Arthur P. Marshall, 56 NCB, 5th of November 03. Benjamin V. Muniak, NCB, 65th, 69th, 136th, and 72nd LM 2499, October 4th, 08. Michael D. O'Day, NCB, 58, 22, 28, LM 53rd, 50, 1st of October 08. John Olazak, CBMU 625, 96, NCB, 23rd October 8. Victor P. Passell, Sir, 109th NCB, 17th October 03.
You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back.
Paul Schwinn, MCB 11, 30 October 04. Vito Stella, 1st Specialist, 20 January 05. Fred J. Batur, 123rd NCB, 19 June 05. Jack F. Welch, 22nd NCB, 17th August 03. John E. Zuba, 82nd NCB, 77 CB 89, 0 June 30, June 07.
Or you can do what they would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. Eternal rest grant them, O Lord, and let the light perpetually shine upon them. Amen.
Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm doth on the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep his own appointed limits keep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. O Christ, whose voice the waters heard, and hushed their raging at thy word, who walkest on the foaming deep, and calm amidst his rage did sweep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. Lord, stand beside